Hey, yo, accessories have changed over time. And with all the new commanders that have come out and how these accessories apply to some of those new commanders, we need to go through our accessory guide and give you the best available accessories to get in the early game, in the late game, and talk about the viability of being able to use them with all your different marches in the field. So stick around while we go through the 2026 accessory guide.
Rallies lit up, marching right from the zone to the zone. I stay in control. Man of the people, all heart, no roll, no script, no throne, just rhythm and fire. Built for the push, never gonna tire. You feel that burn, and you already know we're locked in deep. This is Chatsky mode. This is Chatsky mode.
Hey everybody, I'm your boy War Daddy Chatsky. I do these types of videos all the time. I love to do guides. I love to give the nuances of the game and go through some of the different things that you can do to help you be a better player. And if you enjoy this type of content in this video, please throw a thumbs up on it. Give it a like, helps the channel a ton. If you're not subscribed, consider doing so. It doesn't cost you anything, and you can hit that bell to get any kind of alerts when I put out content like this. Well, accessories have changed over time. Needless to say, we are in a situation to where we get accessories early on in the game, we get accessories late in the game, accessories have lost value, and overall we get into a situation where we just want to know what's best to use, what's best to get. Okay, and so with that being said, I'm going to talk about the end game real quick. All right, there are three accessories that are not tied to stat sticks, okay? The accessories that are tied to stat sticks are your Seth's Call, okay? This is where you get a 10% attack bonus to the wearer's troops and to nearby allied troops. This is a buffing type of accessory, but that has not changed in nearly 6 years. In 5 years, that's been the exact same thing, okay? As far as the 10% bonus to attack. It was great 4 years ago, but now, have you seen the power creep with commanders? It's the same thing with dagger. I used to love the dagger. The dagger used to be so good in the game because we did not have all these different ways to enhance or bonus our health of commanders. Well, now commanders have come out with much more health in their kit. Plus, we also have these things called formations. And with formations, we have armaments. And with armaments, we get health. We get health in a lot of different areas, okay? Running up health everywhere. Where's my Attila? I'll show you a bunch of health. I mean, from this standpoint, I'm running robust with I've got 16.5% health on my armaments alone. And so with that, the viability of the dagger has completely changed over time. All right. This is a really cool situation to where it's high uptime and you're going to get health mitigated by 6.5% with a crit. You can stack up to 3 times. So you can run that up to like 19%. Well, that's not near as valuable nowadays. Okay. So that's tied to stats. All right. We've also got Moore's Web, same thing. Now this has a slow effect, but now all these commanders have so much slow effect that it's like Moore's Web just completely lost its value because over time they've given us commanders where commanders are putting slows on their target through their active skill or through their passive skills. Okay, so not near as valuable. And it does a defense mitigation, but we've got so much. It's the same thing with dagger. We've got so much defense. It's unbelievable. So these are the ones you kind of stay away from. The coin is a great example. Okay, 500 damage factor. This goes up to 650 damage factor if it's critted, right? So you can get this coin to fire off when you're getting attacked. This used to be really, really good. Great for garrisons, and in some weird situations you can use it for garrison, maybe an arc or in like Kingsland flags you're just trying to hold, but not really. You'd rather have other things that do better and actually have a more efficient baseline to it, because 650 damage factor, that ain't nothing, y'all. Like 4 years ago when the highest skill damage commander out there was like Saladin at 1700 single target and you were getting hit with AoE of like 1200. Yeah, this is pretty good. Now, Arthur's out here pummeling you with 2800 damage factor in AoE. You got commanders like Hector that's putting 2,800 damage factor on you. You got commanders doing 3,000 damage factor on rallies. Like, this doesn't mean anything. It's the same thing with the book. Now, the book is okay. It's okay for the anti-swarm effect. I get that and I understand that, especially when you can get any sort of boost to counterattack. The only thing that makes the book a little bit relevant, like just a little bit relevant, is, let me see, is it this right here? It is the Vengeful Strike. Okay, this is a 6.5% counterattack damage boost for 2 seconds. All right, so anytime you're able to boost the counterattack damage bonuses you already have, then all of a sudden Vengeful can be a little bit more relevant in today's game. But overall, that thing hadn't changed in 4 years, 5 years, however long it's been out. Okay, it's been the same amount. Now, if this was 10% or 11% and you could crit it and get that up to 14 or 15%, that would be like, okay, now we're cooking. But some people still like to use it. I get it. I don't mind using it if I'm running like an Attila counter rally and I'm going in knowing I'm going to get swarmed and killed. That's not bad. But I would just maybe just use the Greatest Glory. Greatest Glory is basically 6.5% normal damage of all types, which translates into counterattack damage. Okay, and so from there, that's how you look at the book, all right? And so we've also got some of the new stuff that has come out in the game that we need to talk about. And the first one is the Plume, okay? This particular deal is a siege situation to where you're going to increase the damage by 30%. You can trigger this every 5 seconds, and you have a 50% chance to do that, all right? And so from there, this goes with your direct damage or range smite damage. So it only applies to your heavy hitting damage. Okay, it's pretty good, but it's very, very nuanced in the situation to where you have to run it in range. All right, now if you're a siege player that has multiple siege marches, this is really good to get. All right, if you are not a siege player and you just run one siege march and the rest of them, or you're putting in the melee in the field, then ring is just going to be inherently better because you can use ring wherever you want. And the ring has kind of the same effect. Okay, now the ring does it more in an RNG situation because you get a 10% chance to gain a 50% bonus to damage dealt for 2 seconds, but it can only trigger one time every 5 seconds. Okay, the cooldown's not too bad on this, but players who run siege marches see just about the same benefit from the ring as they do from the plume. Okay, and so just keep that into consideration. Then we also have the Saddle of 1,000 Blessings. This is the same type of deal. We have tested this over and over. No player that I know who runs smite marches in the field runs this. It's just not good. The healing factor is just nowhere near potent enough for it to be viable. And so you deal extra smite damage, and you also have a 50% chance to heal yourself for the 5% of the slightly wounded inflicted by the damage. So you're healing off of the damage you do. That obviously changes when your marches get lower and lower. You're not doing as much damage. And so from that standpoint, no one uses this in the field. Nobody puts it on their BQ Luce March. Nobody puts it on their BQ Wallace March or their Luce Alex March. Nobody does that. Do not do that. However, if you are running a Gaja Cordoba siege march and you want more sustain, this can be okay, but I advise against it. Like just run Ring of Horn, for crying out loud. Don't even mess with this. And so that is one that they put in the game. They did not make it potent enough, and it is newer, but it's just not usable. Then we've got Hero's Hilt. Okay, this is a good one. And we didn't know the potential of this until we started getting pairings for combo. Before, we had Arthur. He was the only combo commander in the field. And then we could run Attila and Subutai on the rallies. Well, that's only one combo commander in those marches, right? Whether it's the field or the rally. And we couldn't unlock this. Now that we have all these combo commanders and you're running combo pairings with like a Gang Achilles or an Arthur Achilles, you're able to see this thing be unleashed. And it really does well. Really does well. This has the same effect as the Greatest Glory in the sense that you are almost going to make this as good as a ring. The ring has more RNG. This has more stability as far as being able to ramp up the bonus to all types of combo damage to 15%. Okay, because you can stack that up to 5 times easily. You ramp it up pretty quickly, and it stays at that 15% if you're staying in combat. Okay, so a little bit of falling off if you're going back and forth in combat, but overall, it performs almost as good as the ring. Okay, and so from there, let's go back into some of the other ones that we talked about. The 3 that we talked about that have the effects on that don't have anything to do with stats are the drums, the ring, and the horn. Okay, the horn is an effect on rage. Okay, so this is withstood the test of time because no matter what, rage is great. Okay, rage is everything in this game. You want to fire off your skills as fast as possible because rage, this basically enhances your rage. Your rage makes you fire off your active skills quicker. And no matter what, your active skills are tied to your commander, your gear, your armaments, and all that. Well, all that's power crept, right? Over the last few years. Well, the horn doesn't care about power creeping. The horn is just great with being able to maximize the damage of that power creep, if you will. So the horn keeps its value over time and has become so super powerful. I tell people all the time, you run 5 marches, you run 6 marches. Outside of Chin, you need a horn for every march. Because Chin doesn't need a horn. He's the only commander that doesn't need one. Everybody else needs one. I don't care if you run a Luce and you get extra basic attacks on his expertise. I don't care if you run combo and you overrage sometimes. Horn is just great. The drums are another one. Now, the drums are interesting because you can get in the early game, and if you want to run drums, and I always tell players, like, you're running 5 marches, 6 marches, and 7 marches, like getting 3, 4, or 5 drums and going all in on drums performs insanely good. Insanely good. But you can't just have 1 drum or 2 drums. You got to run 3, 4, or 5 when you're running multiple marches, okay? 2 drums is fine for 3 or 4 marches. All right. You need at least 3 drums when you get to 5 and 6. When you get to 7, it's more ideal to have 4 or 5 drums. Okay. But they're really easy. You can get these things, and we'll talk about that in a little bit, what you can get in some of the different events that we have. So drums has withstood the test of time. And then we come to the ring. Okay. The ring is basically taking all the damage you're doing through your commanders, through their skills, through your armaments, through your equipment, everything that you're doing, and it enhances the all damage of everything. So it is not tied to a damage factor. It's not tied to a specific stat stick. It is just basically enhancing all the damage that you do. That's why it's withstood the test of time. Ring is still great to get. And so from that standpoint, that's what we look at. Now, then we have a couple other situations when it comes to the Greatest Glory and the pendant. The pendant was dead. Nobody used the pendant for a couple of years. Like, it just wasn't worth it, okay? And you're going to do 5% more skill damage of all types, but that just stayed the same. That was great 4 and 5 years ago. However, what we have found is that with Chin, since he does not need a horn, he consumes rage, and it happens so fast that the horn is just deficient with him. People started putting the ring and the pendant on their Chin, and it works so much better. So you do get value in a very acute, a very particular, nuanced way when it comes to Chin. Anybody else, don't use the pendant. Okay, if you're running a Zuge Herman March or something like that, don't put the pendant on that. You put the ring and the horn on that. And so from there, that pendant has a little viability, particularly tied to Chin. And then you've got Greatest Glory, okay? The reason why Greatest Glory also withstands the test of time is because for now, Smite commanders and combo commanders, the Greatest Glory is like an all damage bonus. All right? And so what we have found is that when you put the Greatest Glory up against the ring, the Greatest Glory is going to give you basically, with a crit, 6.5% more all damage of all types. Okay, you're getting more all damage because when you're running it with Smite and Combo are enhanced by normal damage. So it does your basic damage, your basic attack, your counter attack, and your skill your skill active skills when it comes to your Smite and your Combo. That's what it enhances. Now, over time, it doesn't quite perform to the ring's level, okay, but it's more consistent and it's instant and it's easier and it performs just about as well as the ring. That's why Greatest Glories are great. Also, Greatest Glories are great for anti-swarm stuff. I have one on my my Attila all the time when I'm going to be swarmed. I have one on my David when I'm doing the Garrison. I know it's going to be swarmed. Okay. And so from that standpoint, this really helps you get the benefit of the all damage, also get a little bit of the benefit of the Vengeance all in one. And that's why the Vengeance is so good. And so people have to understand that. Now I'm going to have a table here at the end, and we're going to talk about a little bit of this. And so let me first talk about the early game stuff. Okay. When it comes to the early game, you do not have access to the horn and the ring and some of these accessories that are in the KVK shop. Okay. When you're in the KVK shop, you get, Season of Conquest, KVK 4, you start running Crystal Tech, and you start getting into the KVK shop where you can run rings and horns. If you're in the early game, you are not there. You're running Silent Trials. You have those. You have Delane's Amulet. You have the Wind Scars, which isn't awful. You know, it's a lot of march speed for infantry. And then you have Ancient Stratagems. Those are your epic. Accessories. Then the only other one that's viable is the flag. Now I still have a flag on CC. That's my OL and my Arc March and my one troop march. I just want it as fast as possible. That's an all troop march speed. You can put it on anybody you want, and you can actually use this for the early game. K1 and 2, it's really good. Put it on your infantry, make them a little faster. Okay, and you look at your accessories here. I always say the Silent Trial is the best of all the epic accessories. It just mitigates rage, which is great. That withstands the test of time because that is not tied to a damage factor, and it's not tied to a stat stick. It just reduces the rage. You put this on like a Bertrand combo march in K1 and 2, then all of a sudden you're mitigating a whole bunch of rage of the target. Okay, and so Silent Trial is the best in the early game to get. All right. And you can get Silent Trials through doing your barbs, camps, and keeps, and doing different things as well. All right. The lanes has good value, but it is tied to a stat. 5% less counterattack damage of all types. This is good for rallies and garrisons especially, okay? But overall, it's not near as good as a Silent Trial as far as the effectiveness of it. However, if this thing like said 7.5% less counterattack damages of all type, it still wouldn't be legendary status, but it'd be a lot better because this has not changed over the last 5 years, all right? The Ancient Stratagems is a troop cap situation. Okay, well, when you're running your 50% expanders or your 50% expansions on your marches, and even in K1 and K2 and K3, you're running your marches up to 330 and 335,000 troops. The 3% unit capacity, not a huge deal. It's definitely okay to have a couple of these, but you don't want to forge this thing over your Silent Trials or your Delanes. Okay, if you have the luxury of forging a couple of these things in K1, 2, and 3, you get a little bit of a benefit. You get a benefit in Canyon. That's where it works a lot. But overall, you want to focus on the Silent Trial and Delanes. Okay, and so from there, you do get the Wind Scar. That is purely a situation where if you want to run more march speed, the beauty with all of these epic accessories is they're like a bank. Okay, you can forge these things, and you get, if you want to dismantle it to upgrade to legendary, you get all your materials back. So you have to look at the epic accessories as two things. Number one, it gives you instant return on your investment. Okay, when you run it in early game, or you're even in late game and you just need something in a slot because you don't have the mats to go do a ring or something, you can go do a Silent Trial and you get to keep your mats. You can forge a Silent Trial, put it on your march, and then when you're ready to upgrade, you dismantle it, you get all your mats back, and then you can go upgrade to a legendary accessory. All right, so that's kind of the benefit of some of these epic accessories. In addition to this, okay, you also get some of these accessories in the early game, like drums, like Greatest Glory, like Hero's Hilt. Okay, you get access to daggers. You get access to the coin after K1. You get access to Seth's Call. You get these through events like the Egg event that we've seen, and with the Smithy Special. Okay, and you can actually forge these things in K1, 2, and 3. And so with that being said, you want to stick to drums big time, and you want to stick to your Greatest Glory. And now that you actually have combo commanders in the early game with Bertrand and a few others, if you're going to go that route, you can do Heroes Hilt. So between those three legendary accessories, you can forge those in the early game because you'll use them in the late game. You never have to dismantle them. When you get to the late game, you get into KVK 4 and SOC, Season of Conquest, you just start ramping up your commanders and you use these same accessories. So those are great to use in KVK 1, 2, and 3. All right. So from there, let's talk about this. I'm going to put up the table here just so we all have an understanding. This is my 2026 accessory guide. Okay. Now that we're going into 2026, new players, this is early game. Silent Trial, great. Delane's Amulet is good. Ancient Stratagems, hey, it's okay if you've got the mats and the blueprints for it. You got nothing else to do. The drums, amazing. Okay, because the drums you'll use in the late game. You've also got the Greatest Glory, which is great now that you're running Smite marches in the early game with like a CJ Pyrrhus march. You can use Greatest Glory, get good benefit out of that, and you'll also use that in the late game. Also, the same thing with Heroes Hilt. Not many people are doing a combo. We need more Cav commanders in KVK 1, 2, and 3 that are combo. Why not switch Mina to combo? That would be awesome. And there is some serviceability. But just understand, the drums, the Greatest Glory, and the Hero's Hilt give you really good value in the sense that you're gonna go forge those things anyways in the later game, so you can forge them in the early game and have peace of mind about that. And that's what we all want. The dagger coin and the Seth's Call, stay away from in the early game. Stay away from, period. Don't go down that route. You know how many players I know that have had to dismantle like a critted dagger just because it doesn't do it for them anymore? I've personally dismantled a critted coin because it just doesn't have any meaning in the late game. So don't go down those roads. Avoid those mistakes that players have made. And they're not really mistakes players have made, just the game has changed so much that we've had this issue. Now, we've talked about how the game might help us change with some potential equipment swap, different things, but they haven't made anything official on that. They just had some conversations with developers about it, and they understand there's an issue there. And then now that we move into the late game for you in-game players, Horn's amazing. Horn is awesome. Horn's everywhere. Everybody gets a horn. You will do wonderful, okay? The ring and the drums, also really, really good. All right, I'm running 7 marches right now, and I'm literally running horns on everything but my chin, and then I'm spacing out my rings, my drums, and my Greatest Glories, okay? And I've got 2 Greatest Glories. I'll run both of them, and the rings and the drums and all that stuff. And then we've also got the pendant for chin, the Hero's Hilt that we have for combo now. You have the plume for siege, which is kind of okay. Then you have the saddle of 1,000 blessings. Let's talk about the saddle, okay? Because we had talked about this a little bit in the end game. If you're running a bunch of siege, you can kind of make this work a little bit, and you can kind of get some value out of it. But it's just strictly for that siege smite march that you're going to run, like a Gajamaya with Cordova. Okay, so you come back over here, stay away from the vengeance. If you have one, it's okay, but I just stay away from it. You can get almost the same amount of effectiveness out of the Greatest Glory. You stay away from the coin, like we talked about. Stay away from Moore's Web. Stay away from the dagger. Stay away from Seth's Call. That's how you run these things. Okay. The other thing to think about in this is we had talked about a little bit how you can get some of these different accessories through different events. You don't have to get them in KVK. Okay. That's the drums. That's the Greatest Glory. That's the Hero's Hilt. You can get these things through the Smithy Special, and you can get these things through the Egg event. Well, think about it, guys. If you really look how many prints I have for this. If you really want to enhance and go crit some of the gear, some of the accessories, it takes so long to crit a ring. You maybe get 2 ring prints every KVK. And if you do, you got to forge it. Then you got to refine it. Then you got to refine it again. Then you finally get a crit. Then you got to start your tier 1 with a crit. And it literally takes up to 18 months, a year to 18 months to fight multiple KVKs to go get a ring or go get a horn to crit and go get it to tier 5. It takes so long. With drums, so long as you got the mats, with drums and Greatest Glory and pendant you can get in the keeps in Home Kingdom. And with Hero's Hilt, you get more prints of this stuff. Okay. And so when you get more prints of it, you can easily get it critted faster because you have more prints, and you can get awakened faster. So that is a big deal to do, and that is a big deal to kind of go through. So with that being said, that's why the value of some of this stuff works really, really well. And there's your checklist. There's your accessory guide, new players and old players alike. That's what you want to work on. That's what you want to do. If you enjoyed this video, again, throw a like on here, guys. If you want to join my Discord and the discussions that we have in there, my link is down in the descriptions. I encourage everybody to get in there, ask questions. The Discord has been blowing up when everybody's realizing, like, I can just go to Chatsky's channel. I get all kinds of advice on all kinds of stuff. So I encourage you to do so. And with that, we hope you have a great day, broskies.